I've started recording.
Start the car.
Let's get it started in here. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Apartment 6 podcast. I'm Jess. That was such a voice change.
I'm Marissa. Bragger.
Bragger like cracker with a B.
You got it, dude.
You could have like a really good theme song.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was just thinking of something when I was singing that. I think it's like, not every kiss begins with K. Not
Like
what's
cracker with
Like
with a B.
Yeah. Wait, what is the cotton, like, you know, like is it laundry detergent? Is it, there's something where they're like talking about how soft something cotton.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm also getting visions of Sara Lee's bread. A lot of things are happening in my brain.
Did you ever see bath fitter commercials?
What?
Bath fitter. The song is Call Bath Fitter. We're the perfect fit. And I feel like that would be good because you could say, it's Bragger, like cracker with a B.
Okay, that theme song is familiar, but it kind of just sounds like any other theme song. But is that like a South Shore thing?
That's what I don't know. It might
I've
be.
never heard of. What is it?
Bath Fitter. It's like a company that like does your tub.
Bath, TH.
Bath Fitter.
That's literally the name of it.
Yes.
They like fit your bathtub.
Yes.
I've never heard of that in my life.
Well, now you know.
Hi, we're back with another epi. Eps 18.
Would you like to talk about your thorn?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was like, what the heck? What are we doing? Okay, so I have a real thorn of the week, but I don't really feel like talking about it. So when I tell you my other thorn, just know that like
bigger things are
just know that like I'm aware that this isn't really thorny.
Yeah.
My thorn is I just spent $23 on obscure sauces.
I was hoping you'd say that.
That literally wasn't going to be my thorn, but I forget what I had like my real thorn that I was like, I'm not going to say that because I don't feel like talking about it. And then I was like, instead I'll say this. And then I forgot whatever that was. So instead we'll talk about the fact that the grocery store nearby that I thought would have these two sauces that I need like Szechuan paste and sweet soy glaze in order to make this recipe that I used to do, or for a short period of time I was using HelloFresh, and I learned this recipe and I really liked it and I want to make it again, and it doesn't take a lot of ingredients and I already have some of the ingredients. I was like, oh, like let me just get like those sauces and I'll try to remake it. No, you can't buy those sauces. You simply cannot. So I came home from the grocery store and was like, well, maybe if I go to like H Mart or something like that, I'll have to finesse that. But I like looked on Instacart and like I didn't even see it in stock at H Mart. So I'm like, okay. So I went on good old Amazon. I mean, sorry, I know Jeff Bezos sucks, but
well, where else were you supposed to get Szechuan sauce?
I did look there and they had both of them. One was $7, one was $16.99. And I was like, well, I already bought like the couple of things I needed like to make this. So I was like, some of the ingredients I already had, some of them I didn't, and I bought the ones I didn't have. And so I was like, well, I'm going to commit to the gig, and then I'm just going to have to make it a few more times after that to like make this worth it.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm investing $23.99 in sauces, in two sauces, well, a paste and a glaze specifically. So that's like my thorn, is that my neighborhood doesn't have Asian sauces. Or at least not the ones I need. But then Marissa said this really funny thing.
Gas me up.
Marissa, tell them what you said. No. I went into her room and was just like, Marissa, I just spent freaking $23.99 on a paste and a glaze. And she was like, don't worry about it. It's not like you do this all the time. It's not like I'm going to be like,
just again?
Yeah,
you
again.
just dropped $20 on sauces again? You just did that last week.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, hi. You know.
I think the likelihood of you having to do this again is pretty low. So, like, splurge on the sauces.
Although I did just spend like $7 on jalapeno seasoning just to have it literally only taste like jalapeno.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you spent $7 on 3 bags of Trader Joe's jalapeno puffs.
Well, that too, but that's worth it.
Yeah.
But I spent $7 on jalapeno seasoning. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I was thinking that it would be more than just literal ground up jalapenos that actually don't, like, they have like the heat of jalapeno but no taste of it. Like there's no like tanginess or anything like that. It's just sort of like the heat. And it's fine. And, like, I could see myself maybe adding it to things, but, like, it's not what I wanted it to be. I was just desperate to try to make, like, a popcorn version of jalapeno kettle chips. And, yeah, I mean, so I guess this isn't the first time I've bought obscure-ish things to try to make things.
Fair
but this
enough.
time I will like it.
I hope so.
And use it. Anyway, what's your thorn?
I feel unoriginal because I feel like my thorn is always either about work or about me not being able to sleep.
Which is it this week?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I just keep alternating between the two. I mean, they're both still a thing, but this week,
I feel really giddy right now. I think it's because I
giddy about my thorn.
No, I like demolished that pumpkin dump cake so fast.
Oh my god.
I'm like,
yes, I had a really busy work week. We just like had this like project hit us because basically there was like an issue with Pearson's like books, like financially.
I love that you're so open about where you work on here.
Yeah, I mean,
like you literally just talk like as if you're talking to friends.
That's true. Well, it's on my like Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff.
I mean, you're right. I just think it's funny that you talk about it so casually.
Everyone knows Pearson by now. But yeah, we just got hit with this like big like data reconciliation thing, which basically meant that like every day this week I was like glued to an Excel sheet just doing a ton of copying and pasting. And I was like working late and it was just exhausting. So that's my thorn.
Yeah, you were working late. You were working even past when I was working, and I get out an hour later than you.
Well, yeah. Not anymore, though, really. Because
you kind of switched your schedule. You, like, shifted forward.
I used to work from 8 to 4, like, religiously. But then when quarantine hit, I was just like, what's the point?
So now you work more like 9 to 5.
Yeah, because before, like 8:30 to 4:30. But before, the reason I wanted to work 8 to 4 was because I was like, oh, like I can like get out of work and still have like a lot of day left. But doesn't matter now.
That, like, 5 p.m. rush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it really doesn't matter anymore. So, yeah. What is your rose of the week?
I have like a few roses this week, but I guess I'll
a bouquet.
A bouquet. A bouquet.
Is it bouquet or bouquet?
I say bouquet.
I think I said bouquet. That's kind of weird though. I feel like maybe that's wrong.
I don't know. I guess bow makes sense because it's BOU.
But I don't even say bow. I say bow.
Oh wait. Okay.
As in like BOW. Yeah, or like no U. Anyway, go on.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I'll package them all together as like it was a nice social weekend. I got to see a couple of my friends and their baby that I babysit for, which is really sweet. And then we FaceTimed our friend Kareen, who we also said we'd give a shout out in this episode. So we FaceTimed Kareen this morning for a couple hours, who's one of our great friends from college. And yeah, like got to quickly see our friend Jen. You got to have lunch with her, but I got like a quick 20-minute car ride. What else? It was just like nice. I feel like I like hit some bases and caught up with some people that I haven't really had the chance to catch up with in a little bit. Like I haven't talked to Korean, at least not in depth like that, in a couple of months. Same with my other friends. I know I feel funny like saying people's names because I'm like, I don't know if they want me to say their names, but it was like a nice little like check in with some people who I haven't seen in a little bit. So that was my rose. What about you?
Very similar rose, because we ended up having a pretty like parallel day in terms of socializing. But for me, it was cool because I saw like a few of my favorite people individually when normally I see them in
a group.
Not
if
a group.
You're gonna see us all in one day, it's normally because we're in a group.
Yeah, and not even a group as in like a ton of people, but just like the four of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just interesting because I got to like have lunch with our one friend, and then I like did a little shopping with you, and then I got a drink with our other friend. So like instead of having it be like a single activity where we just all caught up with each other, I got to have that like individual, like specialized time with all of you, which was just cool and different. Especially because like as an introverted person, I don't always like share a ton in group settings. Like I feel like I tend to be like clowny, like I'll just like want to like say funny things and like offhand comments and stuff, but if we're in like a group and someone's like, tell me about this situation, I kind of like get like clammed up if like 3 pairs of eyes are on me. But getting like lunch with one person is better for me in terms of like sharing info. So yeah, I felt very caught up with everyone. I felt very fulfilled. Also very tired by the end of the day.
Yeah, you had like a marathon day.
I did. It was good though.
Love that. Speaking of those friends, we went to college with them, and and that's our segue. That was
Build
our
a bridge.
shitty segue.
You built a
to
bridge.
Today's topic. We're talking about career ambitions versus like life ambitions. And we're talking about the mindsets that Marissa and I have individually about like work goals and life goals. And that sort of for us starts with our college experience. So like later in this episode, we're going to talk about like some career goals that we have or don't have, and like life goals that we have or don't have. And I feel like, well, we both feel like that sort of all starts with, yes, how we grew up too. Like, I guess we could talk about that too, but we're not going to. Like I guess like your upbringing plays into it, but because we really want to focus on like career aspirations, we are going to start with college because we had a kind of interesting college experience. I want to put the disclaimer that we're not saying that other colleges don't have this and that they don't emphasize things the way that Emerson does. I'm not trying to be elitist about this and say like, well, we went to a college that blah blah.
Yeah.
Because actually we're going to be criticizing it for some of the things that I feel like as freshmen we may have thought were going to be great and that were great in a way. We also like can now look at with like a critical lens. So to start us off, we're going to be talking about our experience at Emerson, and we wrote down like some of the things that we feel are like most important to hit on when it comes to Emerson. And one of the first things that we both realized was that when you go to Emerson, you can't go in, at least that we're aware of, undecided on your major.
Yeah, we don't know if this is technically like a written rule, but I would say it definitely felt that way. Even if it wasn't a rule, it was kind of like an unspoken rule.
Yeah, it was reflected in the culture and also like reflected in the curriculum. Like and even the application process, like you had to either audition if you were doing theater, or like you had to apply to a specific program like VMA, or you had to do like supplements if you were doing like little essays.
Yeah.
Writing supplements if you were going to do Marissa's major, which was writing, literature, and publishing, or my major, which was journalism, you probably had to do the same thing for marketing. And there are also only so many majors. So it was like you couldn't go to Emerson being like, I have no idea what I want to do, so I'm going to start here and then see. Even though it's a liberal arts school, you can't go in and just sort of like find out what you're interested in and then pick a major, because there's a good chance they don't have your major if you decide you want something else.
Even within like subjects, like instead of having an English major, they have a writing, literature, and publishing major. Whereas like most liberal arts schools will just have an English major. So I feel like that's very indicative of like how specific they wanted to make it.
Yeah, and like visual media arts was then broken down into like a production track and like a screen, like writing for film and television, film production. Like there were like specific things under that umbrella.
And for you, even though your major was more general in that it was just journalism, you did have to pick a track, right? Like within that major.
Unofficially, yeah. They did away with the track the year that I went in 2014. They had already done away with like choosing the broadcast track and the print track because they wanted to put an emphasis on creating multimedia journalists. So when you would leave, the idea was you would have the skills to craft a story in any medium, but being that there are certain classes that really hone in on certain skills and you can opt out of those, and also those classes have prerequisites. So like the biggest example is like if you want to be if you want to do broadcast, say you want to be an anchor or a reporter and you want to be on air or a producer, you're going to choose to take a class called audio video journalism. And then that is a prerequisite if you want to take TV news producing. And then that's a prerequisite to taking the broadcast capstone, where you produce your own show. So it's like I couldn't just decide, oh, I actually think I want to take the broadcast capstone, or, oh, I think I want to do that TV news producing course. I had to have taken audiovisual journalism, and that's something that you usually took like your sophomore or junior year, usually sophomore. And so it's like if you didn't take it, to go backward and then have to fill that gap in order to move forward with the other ones, like you might already be like behind. And like it was literally like I knew like the only people I knew who like took that were like they were all taking it as sophomores. So I was like, I either have to make room in my schedule to do this or like not.
Yeah, that's the other part of it. I think like not only is it unheard of to go in undecided and like go with your heart and see where it leads you, but it's also unheard of to like, I mean, maybe less unheard of, but still rare to like switch halfway through.
Yeah.
Because Emerson was so like fast paced, and you were supposed to like be so fully immersed in your career path that if you would have already done so much in your first couple of years of school that like if you were to decide to switch then, it would be really hard because like you would have already like went so strictly down one path that you would have had to like teleport in order to get to the next path.
Yeah, you'd be playing major catch up in order to be with where like people in your same grade and same semester were. And like I mean I know someone who was a journalism major, and then after their freshman year wanted to switch to VMA. And because if you want to be a visual media arts major, like that's a program that you have to apply into. Like usually when you apply, you're submitting like a video that you worked on. That's like how you get in. And so like she had to literally like apply into that program to get to be like a production major or whatever she exactly wanted to be. So it's like she couldn't just switch to journalism. Like it's much easier if you're gonna be in you know, a BFA program, or you're going to be in like visual media arts, and then you want to switch to marketing, you want to switch to journalism. That's easy because you don't have to like apply to the program. But like even within the school, you couldn't switch things without like an application process, and then you yeah, you would have all these classes. Like I was in journalism classes and like producing things my freshman year, first semester. Like I was like holding a camera and writing and things like that freshman year.
Yeah. I also feel like it's frustrating where the teachers come in, because like Emerson is well known for having faculty that are like really involved in their fields and really successful in their fields and stuff like that. But I feel like because of that, they feel really entitled to like be brutally honest with the students.
Definitely.
And it's like, if you get told, because of how hard it is to like switch your path or whatever, if you get told by a professor that like you're not talented enough or you're not cut out for a certain thing, then it's really hard to like pivot.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they could say, you know, you could try any of this wide array of other things. Like when you're at Emerson, there's no wide array of other things you can try.
Yeah. It's really like a trade school for communication and arts.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I personally, the reason I say that is because I had that experience. Like I went into Emerson wanting to be a writer, and I was like, I'm going to write books. And freshman year, first semester, I took a creative writing class, and the teacher was like, your work's not good enough. Like, I don't think you'll be able to do this. I don't think you're cut out for this. And I was like, okay.
That is wild.
You're
to
right.
Me.
I'm
first
wrong.
semester freshman year. You're there to learn how to do it.
Yep.
Because this is the other thing. I don't know if I've talked about this recently to someone in real life, or if I have talked about it on this podcast. So forgive me if you're hearing all of this for the second time from me. But most of us, oh, you know what? I talked about this in my episode about imposter syndrome. That's what it was. There are tons of us, maybe not most of us. I actually don't know in terms of the demographics of who went to Emerson, but there are a lot of us who didn't go to schools that were full of arts and communication, which is like literally Emerson is called like bringing innovation to communication in the arts. So when I say communication in the arts, it's because that's the umbrella that you could consider everything under.
Yeah.
Marketing, journalism, writing, literature and publishing, comedy. You know, I went to I had a great school system. Wilmington Public Schools are a great school system, but and we had a great theater program, and we definitely had art classes and things like that. But like we didn't even have, like, our newspaper was not up and running. Like there was no opportunity for me to be taking journalism classes and getting my feet wet, even in extracurriculars when it came to journalism. And like I feel like that may have also been your experience where you grew up, is like you weren't necessarily getting to do like writers workshops or like
definitely,
or like, you know, there were no things like that in our public schools.
Yes, you're totally right. But I feel like it might be true that like the majority of people were like us and that they like didn't get to have that specialized experience before college. But Emerson really put a spotlight on the kids who did.
Yes, totally.
Like, do you remember at all? I have a very vivid memory of going to one of those like orientation or like picture yourself at Emerson like applicants sort of event, where, oh no, it must have been orientation, because they said that they like gave, there was like a slideshow or a list of people or something that had like already accomplished these like big things before they were even starting Emerson. So they were like, in our upcoming freshman class, we have, you know, Sarah, who has published a whole novel already, and like Bill, who was the star on Broadway or whatever the heck.
You want to know the most annoying thing? I still remember who those people are and what they did. Oh my God.
Yeah.
2 of them. I don't remember. There's a lot I don't remember.
That's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, if you accomplish something, everyone knew it, because that was the culture. It was like you.
And that was the benchmark. Like it made you feel like if you weren't up to that standard, then you weren't doing enough.
To compare yourself.
Yeah.
And then do better.
Yeah.
Accordingly.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, it was a, it was a time. And I feel like, so let me get back to script.
There's so much
you can't really go in undecided. I knew this was going to be the easiest part of the podcast, was rehashing all this.
Oh my God.
So you can't go in undecided. So we already covered that. We've covered the majors. The next thing is the clubs.
Yeah.
and we both took part in these, experienced these. Emerson has tons of clubs. Some of them, like our down home great a cappella group, have nothing to do with your major. They're totally just for fun. You know, we have sports teams, and definitely there's no one getting drafted to go to the NBA or the NFL or like any me trying to remember all the acronyms. You know, no one is getting
drafted.
So it's truly just for fun, and those are great, and people do those too. But there are also clubs very like on track with your major, to the point where like it's like you almost might as well be in another class, because it's such like a learning curve. And
not only another class, but also like the real world. Like Emerson had Pub Club, which was basically like a simulation of a publisher, where there would be like an acquisition period where like people would submit their books, and then 2 would get chosen for the year, and there was like a whole editing team that worked on them, a design team that made the book, a marketing team that marketed the book, and they worked with a real printing press to like actually publish books.
Yeah.
So it was very like, it was as close to the real world as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think that yes, there were groups that were outside of people's majors, but because of the pressure to do so many things in your majors, if someone was in, say someone was in like 2 things at once besides their classes, like they were in a group like ours, like an a cappella group that had nothing really to do with what they were working on in their major, and then they were also in something else that had very much to do with their major, there's a pressure for them to slack off in the a cappella group.
Oh, I know where you're going with this now.
Because like, I mean, you know, I'm going to be really honest and say that like we had people in our group that happened to.
Yeah.
But that is a result of the pressure that Emerson puts on you to only care about the things that are going to push you forward in your career.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you definitely are encouraged to be networking from the beginning and to think of these people as your future colleagues.
Yeah.
Like people, you know, your freshman year roommate could be the person that hires you one day.
Yeah.
Or
these are literally things we were told.
Or that works at the company that you want to work for.
Yeah.
And that was the culture.
Yep.
You had to, you know, you can't turn down an opportunity, and if it doesn't fit in your schedule, you've got to plan to not sleep. And I wrote down, I said the culture, or the Emerson way, as people used to call it. People used to say the Emerson way.
I wonder if that is still a thing.
I'm sure it is, because if it happened to us, it's gotta, you know, we all do it. We all say that. But I put Emerson way in quotes, and I said, in my opinion, the Emerson way is being overworked, overbooked, and overtired.
Yeah, totally agree. But also there's this element of like sick pride about it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because like objectively, it sucks to be tired and overbooked. But like when you're in the Emerson bubble, that's something to brag about.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I had to, you know, I had this rehearsal.
I couldn't sleep because I had to stay up doing this. And what's funny is like everyone was so aware of it, but never did anything to help it.
Yeah.
Like I was in freshman year, I think, maybe sophomore year, a research writing class, which I think everybody had to take.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
just one of those things that like everyone had to do.
There was intro to college writing where you learned how to write a college paper.
Yeah,
which
like a 5-paragraph essay.
And to be quite honest, I needed it because I didn't realize that your transition sentence is supposed to be at the end of your paragraph to transition to the next thing, and not supposed to be the first sentence of the next paragraph. And I will never forget that. That's not something they taught us in Wilmington. Or at least I didn't pay attention. I don't know.
Yeah. But I remember in this class, one of our assignments was to like make like a presentation for the class about something. And somehow my group, our topic was the Emerson way. So we had to work on a slideshow that was explaining like what it was, and basically like teach the class about the concept.
As freshmen, you already were that.
And that's what I mean. Like the teacher was like on board with it. She knew exactly what it was too. And like it was so meta in that like everyone knew what it was and was aware of it and knew that it probably was toxic, but we just kept doing it.
Yeah, well, it's a prideful thing.
Yeah.
It's like you tell other people, "Oh, at my school, you know, we are, you know, immersed in our majors right away." I still talk about it with pride.
Yeah.
I still talk about those years with like I don't know, like they were an accomplishment in and of themselves.
Which is true. But yeah, I also have since realized that might also be kind of like an American thing.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a lot of like tweets and stuff that are like Americans really think that it's like a point of pride to not get sleep because you're like hustling 24 hours a day.
Well, our entire system, like the way it's set up, you know, not getting maternity or paternity leave, you know, having to you know, have a working lunch, not getting enough vacation days or not being vacation days being a negotiable thing. Like that is not like that in other countries. Like there are other places like in Europe that really put an emphasis on maternity and paternity leave and paid vacations and
mental health,
you know, taking an hour and leaving work to go get lunch. And you know, I'm not saying it's like that everywhere in every place outside of the US, definitely not, but I watched like a documentary a while ago about this that I thought was pretty illuminating. I don't remember what it was, to be quite honest. But I just remember some of the clips. They like went into like factories in Europe and asked them about it, and they had such a different outlook on their work life. They were like, "Oh, this is just like the thing I do to pay the bills and pass the time, and it's fine, and I get paid, you know, I get paid and I get breaks and I get this amount, and then I go home and I get to enjoy my kids, and it pays a living wage." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
There's a huge culture around like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and like being CEO and girl boss and huge culture around it.
Yeah, I do wonder though, like if we didn't experience that to the extent we did at Emerson, would we feel any differently now? Because like I can only speak for myself on this, but I feel like personally, because I hated that things were that way at Emerson, when I see people or hear people that work with me now speaking like that and like speaking with pride about how they like haven't taken a break or whatever, it makes me angry, and I like try to make a point not to be like that. But I wonder like if that's just because I like went through that phase already at Emerson.
I think that it's not even necessarily that maybe the fact that you went through that phase, but that you maybe like whether you'd gone through it or not, it's like you may have like a resentment towards the fact that that was the culture around you.
Yeah, and I just realized like I guess it could have gone either way. Like I'm sure there are people who go through the Emerson experience and they like still feel that way, and they like forever have that like hustle mentality where they're like, I need to be working and this is what I need to do. So you could pop out that way, or you could pop out the way I did, which is like resenting that.
You want to know what was really interesting about my experience there? I never felt like I was doing that. I never felt like I was actually, like, put it this way, I slept like 8 hours every night. Like, I mean, mostly because like I didn't have classes until 10 a.m. I never took a single 8 a.m. class in college.
I did.
Let that sink in. Never. Even my freshman year. My freshman year, my first semester, my earliest class that semester was 11 a.m.
Damn.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah.
I slept through my 8 a.m. a couple of times.
Whoa.
Which is, like, very unlike
Very
me.
unlike you. No, I never took a single 8 or 8:30. Your
tough.
freshman year, it's like, you know how they create your schedule for you?
Yeah.
I just happened to not get one.
Yeah.
And then I purposely chose not to have them after that because I just was like, why, when the same class is available at 10 a.m. and I work better at night and I can still be done with my day by 6, like, and then go to dinner. Like, why do I need to? Yeah, no. So I was fine. I never pulled an all-nighter and worked on a paper all night. I don't really know why, and maybe sometimes I didn't produce my best work, but I can honestly say I didn't ever do that, and I I did take part in multiple clubs, and usually multiple at one time, probably like 2 at a time at most, maybe 3 sometimes. But what's weird is like I still feel like I kind of had like that hustle mentality, or I feel like when I look at what I was doing and everything I was balancing, I'm now like, oh wow, I was doing a lot, but at the time I didn't even think I was doing enough, because I was like, oh, I don't feel that way.
That's like the other component of it, I think, like the comparison when everyone else is, well, not everyone, but like other people who, like I said earlier, Emerson tended to spotlight, were like, I'm doing this and this and this and this and this, and like you sit there and you're like, oh, I'm only doing this and this.
Yeah, even though this and this is plenty.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was going to say. Like, even though this and this can be fulfilling and productive for you, if it's not this plus this plus this plus this plus this, it doesn't feel like enough.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, that's also in addition to your classes, and like sometimes you're gonna encounter classes that are easier than others and that require more outside work than others, but like there wasn't an emphasis on then creating balance elsewhere. It was just like, well, I guess now I'm doing that. I don't know, it is really interesting. And yeah, the professors do know about it, and it's definitely a culture that I think is, I even think the professors perpetuate it, like with pride. Like they'll be like, this school is so interesting. I teach at multiple colleges, and this one's like got this really interesting atmosphere, and the students are so engaged with their, their majors, and it's such an interesting culture here. But also I think what they're talking about too is that there's a lot of like very eccentric people at Emerson. I don't think it just has to do with people's like work ethic or people's career interest. I think like I just remember like professors being like, yeah, I teach here and down the street and whatever, and like you guys are the weirdest bunch. Like I don't know, but we'll get off that. Yeah, and then I think, well, the last thing about Emerson is just that there's an emphasis on getting into your career right away. First of all, getting into your career, like there's a sense of like you don't go to Emerson to just get a college degree and then do whatever you want now that you have the degree, which like just having a bachelor's degree is a useful tool regardless of what you like. You might then be like, okay, now I need to go to grad school to do the thing that I really want to do. Say you want to be a teacher and you need to go to grad school. But I find that a lot of people, if they go in knowing what they want to do, they're going to like go out and do, like they usually don't need grad school for it. But if you kind of like, if you change over time, put it this way, I don't think a lot of people sink their money into Emerson to then like go on and do more education and so choose a different path.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the selling point of Emerson, I guess. Like they're like, we're going to really push you in your path in order for it to be like a given that you're going to get a job in your field after school.
Yeah, because of all the connections.
Yeah.
Blah, blah.
And I was saying earlier when we were talking about this like topic for the episode that I feel like maybe for some people who go to more or less specialized liberal arts schools and kind of study stuff more generally and are like thinking during their whole college time about what they want to do, their like life career goal might be to get a job in a field that they like. Whereas like at Emerson, that's not even worth having as a goal because that's supposed to be a given fact.
Right.
When you graduate. So it's not even like, it doesn't feel like it's even something to be proud of. But when you like zoom out, it is. Like we should both be extremely proud of ourselves for having jobs in the fields that we studied in college. But the way that Emerson spits you out is like, of course you do. You went to Emerson.
Right. Yeah. Oh God, I feel so like, do you feel really weird right now talking about this? Like I feel sort of like elitist and gross.
No, I think that anyone who went to Emerson would understand exactly what we're talking about. And anyone who didn't probably just, I don't know, it's just a different experience than other people might have had.
Yeah, I hope that if you didn't go to Emerson and you're listening to this, you're not taking this as us saying that we're better than you, or that we had a better experience than you, or that
That's
we're more
what
deserving of anything than you.
Yeah, that's what I mean though by saying like things that actually are a really big deal don't feel like a big deal to us. But
Yeah,
they,
we were just conditioned
they
to think
still
about them differently.
definitely are. Like anyone who's able to even just like get a job period after college, that's a huge deal. Like Emerson just doesn't, we are so zoomed in and like laser focused on specific things that you don't like zoom out and like see the whole picture.
I think for me, the biggest thing, like even before getting a job, or like before, like, but like instead of looking at it as like job in your field versus other job, not in your field, I think like the first thing for me is like we graduated college.
Yeah.
And that's really amazing.
True.
But on graduation day, I didn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, what good is this? Mm-hmm. Like, yes, I was proud of myself, but at the same time, I was like, I won't really be proud of myself until I get it. Like, graduation isn't physically walking across the stage and getting your degree. It's getting your job.
But I feel like that's a specific Emerson thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of like, I mean, again, we like, I don't know how this is coming across, but that laser focus and that pressure kind of robs you of the things that you should be proud of.
Yeah. Like, didn't you sort of feel, I mean, well, I guess you didn't know that your job was going to turn into your job.
I had a summer internship at that point, but I didn't know that it was going to be.
And I had like a month and a half left of an internship. So I technically had that. But it's interesting because I feel like when we graduated from college, what really like felt like the graduation is like, now you have your job. It's instead of like the actual party of it all and like the ceremony of it all. And that's like not normal. I feel like people that's not normally how they, like the accomplishment isn't necessarily the job. It's like, I'm graduating. Oh my God. And then it's like, if you get a job, great. And if you don't, then like you're going to get one eventually. Yeah. And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I think the general point of that is just like the Emerson way was to always keep striving for more. That like whatever you had wasn't good enough because you needed to be working on the next thing.
Yeah.
Which stinks.
Yeah. So that brings us to today. So we both have jobs in our field. We've talked about like you've said like you didn't necessarily have a dream job, right?
Not since the day that I was told I could never be a writer.
So your dream job was to be a writer.
Yeah, in like high school. Books. Yeah.
Okay. Because like I know like my first like dream job like was to be a singer, but like besides,
I think I had that too in like middle school.
My first dream job like in my field. Yeah. And like basically my first dream job, not even necessarily in my field, but like besides being famous. Yeah. Yeah. I mean I don't necessarily have that yet, but that's changed over time, and I also don't necessarily. I've stopped kind of thinking of things as like, oh, when you I don't have a dream job. I guess I've realized that I don't. I thought that I did, but I've realized that I don't even know that I would like that job that much. I think it's just sort of like the next rung on the ladder. Well, it's a few more rungs on the ladder, but like that doesn't necessarily make it a dream job. I'm reimagining right now what my dream job is, and that's a fun phase to be in. But since being told you weren't going to be since being told that you couldn't be a writer,
to my face,
you haven't had a dream job. Do you feel like that is where your career aspirations died? Sorry. Okay, so basically to start this, we forgot. I started in the wrong place. Did you know that I started in the wrong place?
Yeah, but I wasn't going to say nothing.
Marissa, come on.
I wasn't going to call you out in front of the people.
I had scrolled down too far. So I actually feel like this is fine. This is fine. So what started us on this whole episode, which would have made a little bit more sense to tell you before the whole Emerson thing, but I guess there's our background. Present day, I was asked to make a list of goals at work. 6 month, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year type stuff. And like with my company, beyond my company, just like what do you want to do with your career? And, let's see how we can help you and, give advice and blah, blah. And I made this sheet and I showed it to Marissa and I was like, I really like what I wrote like how I want to feel and what I want to have. So like instead of being like, I want to have, or I want this job or I want to be in this position, I wrote like, I want to feel this type of way and I want to have these things with whatever position that brings. And I showed it to Marissa and she was like, wow, this looks like a great list. Whatever. You can take it over from here.
Yeah, I said, wow, this looks like a great list. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great, but I had this like aha moment personally where I was like, if I was asked at my job to make that kind of sheet, I would not have anything to write, because I have realized that I am the type of person who wants to define myself outside of my career. And there's nothing I can think of really within the like working world part of me that I would want to be like defined by. So basically like I realized, I didn't realize this in that one moment, but like post grad in general has been about me realizing that how does it go? Isn't there a phrase that's like, I want to work to live, not live to work?
Yes.
So like I want to have a job for job's sake that supports me and allows me to like do things outside of my job that I want to do.
Right.
So the way I phrased it to Jess was like, I have life aspirations, but not career aspirations. So like I don't have like a ladder of positions that I want to climb or like a dream destination I want to get to or anything like that. But I want to like travel to more places. I want to like start a family, raise a family, support a family. Just like those kind of like personal goals are what I want to like build my life on. And work for me is just going to be sort of the foundation that like allows all of that to happen.
Well, that's very much your parents too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I mean, my mom didn't go to college and my dad just has like I think like an associate's degree or something, like a trade school. But yeah, I mean, they don't feel like passionate about their jobs. They don't like feel any type of way about them. They just like have them to make money. And wanted it that way, like couldn't picture it any other way. But since I went to Emerson, I was forced to picture it the other way, where I was like, oh, like maybe you should feel ashamed if you don't want to like chase career goals. And even like I remember the first like year or so post grad when I was working at my job, I felt this like both pressure but also desire to like think of what was next. Like I remember like every so often you and other friends would be like, are you like looking for other jobs? Because I just like wasn't totally happy where I was, and I didn't really know like if it was meeting my career goals that like Emerson made me feel like I needed to have. But eventually I just kind of reached this like sense of peace where I was like, I don't really want to look for anything else because like I actually feel okay where I am.
You used to like, even like within like that first year after graduating, you still had like career aspirations. Like you wanted to be in children's publishing.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, aspirations is kind of like, I'm thinking of it very specifically in terms of like what you had to do, where if someone was to be like, make me a plan of like the steps you want to take and the ladder you want to climb sort of thing. But for me, children's publishing is just sort of like, it would be nice to get there someday as like a general concept.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like I'm not like making building blocks to set myself up to get there basically.
Yeah.
And like if I don't get there, it's okay.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So do you feel like like you said that your parents don't feel passionate about their jobs.
Yeah,
and that
definitely.
they wouldn't want to.
That they wouldn't want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they just, maybe they would want to if like given the choice, but I just don't think there's anything they would be able to think of that they would be passionate about. Like, it's not like they had like dreams that faded, that they were like, I always wanted to be a blah blah blah, but I had to just settle for this instead. Like, they've just never, I mean, maybe they did have things like this and they've never expressed it to me, but I've never seen them as the type of people to be like, yeah, I settled for where I am now.
Yeah.
But I feel like the message and the thing that like I'm kind of like grappling with and coming to peace with is like, it can be okay to settle for a certain career or certain job, as long as there's something in your life that's like driving you and pushing you.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you can find worth in many different things, and like whichever one calls to you is perfectly fine. But I think like, as you can hear, the environment that we were in college is the reason that like I've had trouble coming to that realization.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not like what we were conditioned to think.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not like the Emerson way.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I fall sort of like somewhere else on the spectrum. I don't really know where. I've never thought to quantify it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have always had career aspirations that I feel it necessary to fulfill. They've changed over time, which I think is honestly a blessing, because I'm clearly not going to be the next teen sensation. But I like within journalism and within even specifically like lifestyle writing and magazines and online publications. I guess just like my aspirations have changed over time. Like even right now I'm in like an exploration time. I think quarantine's given me a lot of time to think. I think quarantine has also given other people time to be creative and then post about it and make me feel like, oh, I want that too.
Totally.
So like even while I'm happy at my job, I'm always trying to think, I'm always thinking about what's next. But what I realized too is, and I realized this from having a conversation with someone else the other day. Sorry.
Sounds so vague.
I know.
Some conversation with someone on some day.
I can't even tell you. Like, I just zoned the frick out. My mom just messaged me, and I just read it as I was talking. I was having a conversation with someone.
The disrespect.
I'm so sorry, all. I was having a conversation with someone about not like greediness. That's not the word we were using, but we were talking about the like have it all culture, and that I kind of talked about on my episode with my mom. If you want to listen, it's a couple episodes ago, go listen to it. We were talking about the have it all culture and feeling content in the present versus searching for more, and how it's a delicate balance, how you kind of need both. Like you need something that propels you forward, and you should always be, I mean, that's like a human nature thing, to be curious and to be wanting more. But also you have to sort of go against the human nature of that to find peace in your everyday life.
Yeah.
Because if you lived just based on, I don't have that yet, I don't have that yet, I don't have that yet, you would be miserable. So we were just talking about like that delicate balance the other day. And it kind of made me realize that I'm definitely the person who wants more. You could even hear it in our last podcast episode when we were talking about this apartment and whether or not we should re-sign to it. I was like, yeah, but it doesn't have this and it doesn't have that. And what if we could get that? And like that's very me. And I don't really know where that comes from.
Yeah.
But there's something in me that is not satisfied with settling when I know that there could be more out there. There's something in me that's very like, but what if I could also have this? Or what if I could make more money doing this? Or what if I could have in-unit laundry? Or what if I could have a place closer to the city? Or what if I could have a job that did this? Or or make money at this thing that I already like doing. Like there's a huge
I honestly I feel like neither version is wrong. Like if you're the type of person who is like seeking to always be better and like get more out of life and whatever, like that's okay. And if you're the type of person to want to settle and not want more, then that's okay too. But I feel like the toxic part is like the two never think that each other is right.
Yeah.
Like people who always want more tell the people that they shouldn't settle.
Yeah.
But the people who want to settle tell the people that want more that they shouldn't keep wanting more.
Yeah.
Whereas like in reality, it's like those are just two different ways to go about life.
Yeah. And I think there should be a balance.
Yeah.
I think that like,
I think that's like nirvana, like that's the ideal. But I do think that most people fall into one or the other.
Yeah. I think that's literally like in nature. I think you're like, not necessarily born with it, because like I don't know if it's like nature or nurture in this case, but I think there is something in us that either makes us like, I want to be comfortable here and I want to like seek for comfort and seek for pleasure in like the moment and be at peace with that. And then there's like the like restlessness that lives in people. I feel like I fall sometimes in the restless category.
Yeah.
But like I would say to you, like me being on my whatever end of the spectrum, let's say I'm on the opposite end, although I don't think I am. I think I fall somewhere more in the middle. But I would say to you, like, Marissa, but what about, like, I've been one of those people that has been like, yeah, but don't you want more? Or like you used to. I think that's also part of it, is that I think it took me a while to realize that you didn't necessarily want the things that you used to want. Because for a while I was like, yeah, but never forget about that dream, or like, don't forget that you can get that other thing that you want. And then at a certain point you're like, I don't really think I even want that anymore. Yeah. Or I don't really care to get that right now. Yeah. But at first I thought you were settling out of like well, what other option is
like
there?
Convenience. Yeah.
So I was like, no, you can do it. But then I kind of was like, oh, she doesn't want to do it. Yeah. So like, but even still, I would say like, and for you, if it's in your personal life and not your career life, like, I'm like, well, don't settle, or at least don't settle too much. Keep dreaming.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the healthy way to do it though. Like, cause you also don't want to be like, yeah, you're right. You can't achieve anything, so you shouldn't even try. Yeah. Like, that's not good either. But I feel like the only wrong way would be to be like, well, why would anyone be okay with like what you have now? Like, don't you want more?
Yeah. Why would anyone be? I'm thinking a lot about Eleanor Oliphant.
My girl.
Because of her life is limited, and she's been in the same career for a long time, and until she meets Raymond, she doesn't have a lot of aspirations outside of that. Her aspirations were to get to the grocery store by this train, you know, in her normal 15-minute train ride that it should take, or whatever. And I think that I need to stop yawning. I also feel like there's a parallel to this in like relationships. I think that right now, especially with social media culture, and I this is something I talked to my mom about in that episode too, there's a huge emphasis on like, not only should you have the guy and have the great life with him, but he should be like the guy that you're so in love with. Like, he should be like the big to your Carrie, and the Aiden at the same time, and like he should like it's like not enough to like what I was saying to her was like it's not enough to find someone really decent who you really get along with and then to have a baby with them and be like, wow, this is what I wanted. I always wanted to be a mother. I always wanted to find companionship, and like that in and of itself, like the life that my parents had, that your parents had, should be enough. But there's now this emphasis on, oh, they're supposed to be your best friend.
Yeah.
That's a language we hear a lot is, oh, I married my best friend. Or I see captions all the time that are like, advice, marry your best friend.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you. What's his name from Grey's Anatomy? I forget. He wrote that in a caption. I was like, well, we're not all hot doctors on Grey's Anatomy, so we can't all do that. Yeah. But there's this emphasis on like, you're supposed to be with your best friend and you're supposed to be so in love. And I feel like anything less than that we're taught is settling. But it's like at a certain point we have to be like, well, what is it that we really want, and does this person fit into our life?
Yeah.
And we might not get the exciting like ride on the back of his motorcycle and feel butterflies the whole time thing, but maybe we get the Steve to our Miranda.
Do you remember the movie Freaky Friday?
Of course. I love that movie.
Jamie Lee Curtis is riding on the back of Homeboy's motorcycle. That's what just popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Middle-aged woman on a motorcycle.
What a star-studded cast.
Truly. Is the guy Chad Michael Murray? Is that the guy? Maybe it's a different guy, but it has his energy.
Yeah, I don't remember the guy, actually.
Anyway, I don't remember it at all. I think you're totally right in making that comparison, but it's also so much of it is about like what we're exposed to and what gets spotlighted. Exactly in the way that like Emerson spotlighted the kids who had like made major achievements before we even got to college.
Literally projected them on a screen.
Yeah,
to thousands of children.
The things that we get exposed to are the like very rare, like slightly not obtainable things, whereas like the normal everyday doesn't get highlighted in that way.
Yeah. Sorry, I just leaned forward because like my computer like idled, basically,
she was reaching over
and I
to
reached
like wake
over
it up.
and as Marissa said that, I wanted to respond, but I just said and then I don't even think the microphone picked it up, but then like I had to address it because it was odd. Yeah, I think in general, again, this goes back to that whole episode of my mom. We have like this have it all culture. Like you're supposed to have it all, and you're supposed to it's like want more and then get the more.
Exactly. It's like it's not even enough to have it all. It's like you need to have the best of it all.
Yes. Yeah.
Toxic.
And love it, and like actively love it. Yeah.
And love it, but somehow still not love it enough to like settle and not want more.
Yeah.
Like when is it enough? My God.
We are a greedy society.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like something that we have to acknowledge too, that like this type of mindset isn't like strictly reserved for students of Emerson College. Like this is like something that happens on like social media. And like we said, just like, sort of like an American mentality too. Like it's not just Emerson College that like fuels this, but we definitely experienced that kind of pressure in our college days.
Our college, isn't it funny that we can say our college days like in the past?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the perfect way to end this episode is to say what our aspirations are for our futures. Life, career, everything. Just like maybe like top 3 aspirations you have for yourself.
Cool. All right.
I know this is spur of the moment. We didn't plan this.
Life comes at you fast.
I just feel like, we've talked a lot about we've talked a lot in the abstract about having aspirations and what career aspirations means to us. How many times are you going to say aspirations? And the culture that bred these thoughts and feelings from us, and how we feel about them now that we're in the workforce. But I feel like we haven't said what they are. So,
okay, I have my 3.
Okay, go.
I want to like have my own family.
Mm-hmm.
So that includes like I'd like to ideally like be married and have kids. Second, I would like to travel, get out of the country a couple more times. And third, I would like to stay creative my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I also always want to be, you know, like daydreaming and creating and just like thinking about new things, new art, new music, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, staying creative even as an old lady.
An old geezer.
Yeah.
Mine are very similar. One of my biggest personal goals is to have my own family, separate from yours. Because the way that I said my own family,
Damn.
meaning like I guess like to have my own nuclear family, but it's just funny because I'm like my own family, or I'll just join yours. Two, I would like to. I have to sort of speak in broad terms when it comes to my career because I'm not exactly sure what I want, but I would like to be in a position that makes me feel creative and that lets me feel excited for each workday, and maybe each workday looks a little different, and it influences people. But I'm not talking about being an influencer. But like I want it to have impact.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, well, I also really do want to travel, but I'll zoom it out even more from that. I want to be financially stable and financially more savvy, because I would like to have things like more travel experience and to potentially, hopefully one day, own a home and be able to like have investments in that way. Invest in experiences, invest in property, invest in my family, invest in my career. Like I also would really like the flexibility to like potentially stay home with children for periods of time if that's what I want to do. So financial security. Those are my three.
Nice.
The aspirations.
Yeah. As always, feel free to interact with us. Every time I say this.
You guys, if someone doesn't interact with us, Marissa.
Someone please tell me your 3 life aspirations. No.
Oh my God.
If you would
your
like.
Your face crunched up so tiny I couldn't tell if it was real.
If you would like, please share with us what your 3 just like general aspirations would be. I even think it's like, I'm glad you asked, because it's like a good little exercise to just figure out what your priorities are, and then accept that no matter what they are, they're totally Gucci, and you don't need to like be wanting more.
Or you can want more.
Or if you want more, it's okay, but you don't have to.
I love that, like, it's so ingrained in you that you literally like figure out what you want and then stay there. And I'm like, don't.
No, I know.
Stay there if you want,
or
don't,
true.
or just pivot the complete opposite way.
That's the key. Stay there if you want.
Stay flexible.
Figure out what you want personally, and whatever that is, it's okay.
Never forget the FRI.
Oh my God.
We need flexibility.
It was fra. I don't know.
Flexibility.
I don't remember.
The last one is.
Oh my God.
It was awareness, and then I changed it to I. Informative. You need to be informed. You need to be informed. Flexible.
Yo.
I'll change it to rational, and then informed. I really don't think it was it wasn't rational.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
CVS. Care, value, support.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
I think it's care, value, support. I think every time we look it up, we always think it's going to be something else, and I think it's support. Every time
Yes.
we look it up, as if like, I mean, we have looked it up like probably 3 times. Anyway, we always just like never want to end episodes, but
it's
like
hard to
Marissa
like
said,
abruptly do it.
I know. I mean, we could just, but that's the thing. Like, we could say bye, but like we don't. We just keep going.
You just did.
I technically did say.
Oh my
it.
god, you
I
said the B word.
Did say it.
Well, love you all. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you again next week.
Again, shout out to our friend Kareen. Gonna mic drop on Kareen. Shout out to Kareen. Go follow Kareen at. I actually don't know what her Instagram is. At
It's
Kareen,
your friend Kareen.
Yes. Oh my god, it literally is. Okay.
Kareen,
at your
who's the real friend
Kareen.
here?
Go follow her, because if you do, she'll be your friend Kareen.
Oh my god.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, Los Angeles, New York.
Boston.
Bye, guys.
Oh my god.